And we're back to bring you an Olympic-themed show right here, right now. I'm Thomas Hale.
And I'm Mason Stauff. Before we dive into individual sports, Thomas and I are going to discuss the major topics that have emerged out of the first 2 weeks of the Olympic Games. The Olympics are off to a roaring start with plenty of things to get excited about, from comebacks to upsets to down-to-the-wire competition. There's also been plenty of controversy. Athlete safety has been a topic in more than one high-flying event. With strong winds affecting skiers and snowboarders in high-air competition, many of the athletes thought the competitions should have been canceled or postponed. So Thomas, do you think the Olympic Committee has handled these things correctly?
I'm a little disappointed in the way the committee's handled things so far, and it really came to a point when Australia's slopestyle snowboarder Tess Coady sadly tore her ACL during training one time, and after that, they didn't really do much about curbing the conditions, the chance of gaining more injuries.
I just think it's so hard when you have a very limited amount of time, and they did postpone a number of events. Basically, the first 3 days of women's alpine skiing
It just
were
seemed
postponed.
to be after these injuries, though, right?
Not really. I mean, when there were high winds, particularly with the alpine events, they weren't letting the skiers up there. They weren't letting anyone up high on the mountains to even do practice runs because it was so dangerous. And obviously, you're kind of in a time crunch because you have to.
Well, then I wonder why 4 out of 5 snowboarders in the slopestyle are getting hurt, are crashing and burning out on there.
It's very tough, particularly with the slope stylers, because they are coming up very short on these landings. But we'll kind of talk about it later in the show about whether it's important to adapt to these conditions. The winners of these events are still finding a way to adapt to them, and I think for the most part the Olympic Committee's got it right.
So far, they're starting to change the things. Beforehand, I wasn't too with it, but hopefully this will curb injuries for the rest of the tournament. Yeah. Maybe the biggest story of the Olympics thus far is the unified Korean women's hockey team. It's not the first time the North and South have had a unified team, but in this period of political turmoil and given where the games are being held, it might just be more than a symbolic gesture. So Mason, how big of an impact did their unification bring?
It was an amazing story. I would say it's been the most important story of the entire games. But I still take this with a huge grain of salt, and I think that until we actually see change, whether we see some movement from Kim Yo-jung, the sister of Kim Jong-un, who's there in attendance at the games.
She came out smiling.
She came out smiling, but until we actually see some kind of attempt at actual unification between the North and South, I think this is just a show and not much more than that.
The thing is that maybe this is the breaking point for political talks to begin, something like that. Maybe. Obviously, tensions are so high within the last 40 or 50 years, and I mean, maybe you just need that Olympic spirit.
I hope so. I really, really hope so.
It was really nice to look at the fans of Korea, the United Korea, and they were all together cheering the team on. And at the end of the last game for the Korean team, it was nice to see all the players get together and go, "We are one."
That one goal was amazing.
Yeah.
They only scored once, but that meant everything to that team and to those two nations.
Great to watch.
Incredible to watch. Every 2 years, we get to see some of the best athletes in the world compete on the biggest stages, summer and winter, and deliver the best performances of their careers, some of which are just downright dominant. 2 weeks in, Thomas, which athlete do you think has put together the most dominant performance of the Games?
The most dominant performance of this 2018 Winter Olympic Games has been the Iron Man, the Emperor of the Skeleton, Yoon Sung-bin.
The Emperor.
They've just titled him the Emperor of Skeleton because of his dominant run so far this year.
I have never seen anyone win a skeleton event in over a second and a half. It's ludicrous.
Every single heat clearly beat the competition.
It was absolutely incredible to watch. I'm going to go with an athlete that not only has been incredible in these games, but over her entire Olympic career. 37-year-old cross-country skier Marit Bjørgen out of Norway. Norway has obviously dominated the cross-country skiing events, but she has a gold, a silver, and a bronze in these Olympics, making her the joint most winningest medal-winning athlete in the history of the Winter.
Like she's got a lot of legacy.
Yes, absolutely. Up there at the top with Ole Einar Bjørndalen, the biathlete, also out of Norway, with 13 Olympic medals in her Winter Olympics career.
Really
not only is she incredible, not just cross-country skiing, but she's a master at both the traditional and the freestyle and the classic style. Amazing.
So I'll give you that she's got her career set. Yoon Sung-bin has plenty of time to go.
Emperor and Empress.
He's on his way. He's on his way. Olympic hockey is well underway on the men's side, but it's missing some of its star players. The NHL stood firm on its decision not to let NHL players participate in the Olympics this time around, leaving the field wide open behind favorite Russian athlete team, which got most of its players from the KHL. So Mason, how's the NHL's decision affected Olympic hockey?
Well, the level of competition and the star power has certainly gone down.
And I miss it.
Oh, I certainly miss it. I miss seeing the battles between the Canadians and the Americans.
I wanted to see McDavid and Crosby team up.
Oh, it's a shame that we don't get to see Connor McDavid on the Olympic stage. That of all the players, I think that's the one I'm going to miss the most.
Absolutely.
At the same time, though, you have to remember that there is still so much firepower in these Olympics, and players you'd never get to see before, who would never have an Olympic opportunity, are there competing for their countries.
To them, it's a nice opportunity for them to come out and show their stuff. You see the USA's team. Bunch of kids we honestly never would have seen before going into the quarterfinals, and it's a great story to watch.
And a lot of these players do have NHL experience, or either have moved on from their NHL or had a brief time in the NHL. So these are players that have NHL experience, and I have to remind everyone,
They're
of course,
just not the household names.
No, it's not. But the Miracle on Ice also didn't have household names at the time.
And I think that this opens it up for these great stories to happen, but do you want these great underdog stories, or do you want to see the superstars clash?
Well, I certainly want to see the performance we saw last night from the Americans. Obviously, if they put together the performance that they had last night against the Slovakians, 5-1, then we have those stories again.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch.
It is going to be incredible.
Love the
to
Olympics.
Oh, the best time of any 4-year cycle is Olympic time.
Glad we can bring this whole show for the crowd here. Well, that's all the time we have for Quick Hitters. Don't go anywhere, because I'll be taking my first run down the half pipe coming up next.